Okay, at this point you have made 100 to 200 job application and you are not getting any replies for all of those applications you've made. Well, trust me, you're not the only one on that situation. There are thousands out there who struggle to land their very first job interview, especially if they are starting out in their field. In fact, I was in that situation too when I was starting out in my career. And most likely the reason for it is not having a very good resume. You know, getting rejected after a job interview is one thing, but not even getting a chance to give an interview is something to do with your resume. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Amit, your host for this episode. So in this video, I will talk about how I write and format my resume if I'm applying for a job. And I will be using a very popular tool called ChatGPT. And I'm pretty sure that this tool doesn't need any more introduction from me at this point. You know, it's very popular and a lot of people are already using it. Well, you'll find a lot of content out there that will teach you how to write a good resume. But in this video, I will talk about the one that actually worked for me. You know, using this resume, the rate of response from the employer for the job application that I made drastically increased, and I had multiple interviews lined up at the same time, and I also managed to get a couple of offers from them. So we're going to talk about this more in details in this video. So without further delay, let's get started. Alright, so let's start by talking about the resume that I used to have, like this. Right, so trust me, this is the resume that I used to have, and like many other out there, I found a generic resume template on the internet and used that resume for all the job applications that I made. And guess what? It all got rejected. You know, I used to get so frustrated that I never heard from any of those employers. But later on, I started doing a lot of research on how to write a good resume. You know, I started to talk to people who were already working on the industry and ask them for tips. So combining all those knowledge and information, here are the 5 tips that I found very helpful and useful to make my resume stand out. And they are very simple tips as well. Okay, so tip number 1 is keep it simple. You know, craft a resume with simplicity in mind. Use very clear and simple words to explain your IT experience and knowledge. Avoid using any technical jargons that may be unfamiliar for non-technical readers, such as HR professionals. You know, you don't want to exaggerate things, especially if you're just starting out, you know. Just keep it simple, and that's what a lot of employer prefers. So tip number 2 is correct formatting. You know, having a proper formatting will give your resume a professional look, such as using a clean and consistent font like Calibri and Arial, you know, and also maintaining a font size between 10 to 12 points on your resume, and using bullet points to list all of your achievements and responsibility for each job and experience that you had, and also ensuring you have a consistent spacing, alignments, and margin throughout your document. So the attention to detail is key here. You know, your resume will make a very first impression in front of your potential employer. So having a right formatting is very important. So tip number 3 is use all the relevant experience. You know, include all the experience, skills, and a qualification that you have that matches to the desired position that you're looking for, you know, and also prioritize experience that directly relates to the job that you're applying for. Describe your responsibilities, achievement, and the impact that you made for the role. And it may be tricky sometimes, especially if you are just starting out or switching your career to a different field because you don't have any previous experience. In this instance, what you can do is you can just pick the transferable skills from your current position and just figure out the relevant skills that you can apply to the new position that you are looking for. You know, that is one of the best way to include all the relevant information on your resume, and that's how you can kind of, you know, add the information and add value to your resume. The tip number 4 is remove all the irrelevant information from the resume. You know, as important as including all the relevant information on your resume, it is equally important to remove all those irrelevant information that doesn't add any value to your resume. You know, if you have experience that doesn't align to the job that you're applying for, just get rid of it. You know, it will help recruiter to focus on your most relevant qualification, and it will also increase the chance of getting your resume selected. So last but not the least, tip number 5 is do not lie. So honesty is key on your resume. Do not lie and provide false information on your resume. You know, it can lead to a serious consequences if discovered. You know, if you lack on certain qualification, just show your eagerness to learn and grow in those areas. You know, it is always better to represent yourself accurately than to risk damaging your reputation. Alright, now let's jump on and see how I write and prepare my resume. So for this, I keep it very simple. I just use Microsoft Word, no other fancy tools needed. So let's jump into it. Alright, so I had to re-record this section just because the one that I recorded earlier got corrupted somehow. But anyway, in this section, we will be talking about how I write and format my resume, especially if I'm starting my new career in IT, okay? So the resume that I'm going to talk about is mainly focused for those people who are just starting out, or for those who are struggling to land their very first job interview, And just a little disclaimer that I'm not a professional resume writer or assessor, I'm simply sharing my experience about the resume that actually worked for me when I was starting out in my career. And if someone can kind of pick a couple of things out of this video and apply onto their resume, then it's a win-win for both of us. Alright, so now I am on my computer, and here are the 8 sections that I will be including on my resume. Okay, so first is introduction, professional summary, key skill summary, certification, projects, employment history, education, and reference, which is also known as referees. Okay, so we're going to be talking in details about each section, so let's continue. So let's start by talking about introduction section. So in the introduction section, we will generally include our name, email, phone, and if you have a LinkedIn profile, then you just put the URL for your LinkedIn page. If you don't have a LinkedIn account now, I would highly recommend for you to go right now and create a LinkedIn account, okay? And this is how your introduction would look like, okay? So I have included my name, email address, phone, and the LinkedIn profile. So if you don't have LinkedIn yet, again, just create your LinkedIn, but if you don't have, you can simply add your address as well. So now let's talk about the professional summary. So professional summary section is another very important section, because this is a section where you would put a little bit about yourself so that the employer can kind of understand a little bit about your background. And how I would do this is I would simply list the things that I want to include on the professional summary. For example, what sort of a degree do I have, what sort of skills do I possess, and what sort of experience do I have. Okay, so I'm just going to list that like this, and I'll be using ChatGPT to help me write a very professional sounding objective summary or a professional summary for my resume. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the prompt that you can see on the screen. All right, and I'm just simply going to put that on the ChatGPT chat box, and it will generate professional sounding objective summary for our resume. Okay, I'm simply going to put that in, and voila, this will generate a objective summary for our resume. Okay, so again, I would not recommend for you to simply copy and paste on your resume. You must proofread all the content that is generated by ChatGPT and make necessary changes. You should customize to your own version, but for the sake of this video, I'm simply going to copy and paste. Okay, so copy, and I'm just going to go to my Word, and I'm just simply going to paste the one that I copied from ChatGPT. And now you can see that it has generated a very professional looking objective summary for your resume, including all the information that you wanted to have. Okay, now let's move on to the next section called key skill summary. Okay, so the key skill summary is very important section, because this is the section where you're gonna highlight all of your skills and experience. And if you have exposure to any sort of tools or technology, then this is where you're gonna highlight it. For example, if you're applying for a job that specifically asks for experience with Azure Active Directory or Microsoft 365, then this is where you highlight your keywords, and here's how you can do it, right? So you can highlight all the keywords that is included on the job description, and also mention about the tools and technology that you are exposed to or you have experience with. And this is how I normally do it as well. Okay, all right, let's talk about next section, which is certification. So in this section, you're going to include the certification that you have done, which is relevant to the position that you're applying for. Okay, for example, if you have done certifications such as AZ900 from Microsoft or CompTIA A+, then you can simply include like this. All right, so you just mention the name of the certification, and then the date, like just beside it on when you did it. Okay, all right, now let's continue and talk about projects. So why I put projects before employment history is because this resume is mainly focused for those who are just starting out, right? And who doesn't have any prior experience in the industry. So we want to kind of highlight our key qualification and skills, right? And project is the one way to do that, especially if you don't have experience on your field, right? And projects could be anything, like the project that you did on your university or your personal project. And the information that you need to include are your responsibilities and your achievements, So how you can do it, you can list all the things that you want to include in this section, and then you can use ChatGPT to give you a nicely formatted output, which then you can include that in your resume. Okay, so here's an example how you can do it. Like, for example, this is a project that I was working on when I was doing my bachelor's degree, So you can simply use that to kind of highlight the relevant skills that you acquired while working on that project. So like here, I've listed the responsibility, what I did, and the achievement, what I achieved. Okay, so we're gonna put this onto ChatGPT and see what sort of output we'll get. Okay, so let's take this. All right, we're gonna simply use the prompt that you can see on the screen right now. Again, you can use your own prompt with ChatGPT, whatever you like, but this is just an example. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna simply paste that prompt and get a. All right, see, you can see here it has just generated nicely formatted details about my project. So, but for the sake of this video, I'm simply gonna copy one of the output that ChatGPT generated for me. You can see here, this was one of the version that was generated by ChatGPT, and this is how you can include all of your projects. If you have multiple projects, then this is how you can leverage the ChatGPT tool to kind of nicely format and include the details of your projects on your resume. Okay, so let's move on to next section called employment history. Okay, so we're going to be using ChatGPT to help us write the experience that we had for the job, and this is important just because this job is not directly related to the IT field. So ChatGPT can align with the skills that is required. For example, the transferable skills that is required for the position that we are applying for. For example, if I used to work as a supervisor in a retail company, and these are the responsibilities that I used to have. Okay, and you can simply write in a rough version. You don't have to worry about the grammatical errors or spelling errors, because ChatGPT will take care of it. Okay, so we're gonna simply take that in again. All right, and we're going to go to our ChatGPT, and we're going to simply use the prompt that you can see on the screen, and we're going to put that through and see what results we will get. Okay. All right. I mean, again, so this prompt is just an example. You can just use any prompts you like. Again, I'm not going to read this for the sake of this video. I'm simply going to copy one of the version that ChatGPT generated. Alrighty, so now let's go to our resume section again and put that work experience. Okay, all right, and you can format your experience like this. Like for example, I put the job titles that I had on the day and the date I had like this, and the company that used to work. Okay, and for example, if you have done any sort of internship before kind of doing actual job, then you can simply do the same thing as well, and you can include on your resume. Okay, so I'm gonna be just doing that as well here, just for the sake of this resume. All right, you can see here, this is how you can list your experience. All right, now let's talk about the education section, and this is another important section as well. You can list all the relevant qualification that you had, like for example, if you have done any bachelor's or master's degree, then include those, and also if you have done any sort of certificate level course or a diploma level course, then you can include those as well. And this is how you'd normally list. Okay, so you'd normally list the title of your course, duration of your degree, and the university or the college that you have studied in, and likewise the achievements, and if there is any sort of other diploma or anything that you have done. So I may ask like having a relevant qualification, so this is important to include on your resume as well. So the last section on the resume is reference or referee section. So in this section, we would normally put available upon request, and that is because you don't want to put the information of your reference while submitting your application. It is because it is not really necessary, because the reference is generally asked by employer once you have already passed those interview levels and they want to kind of do a background check about yourself. Then in that cases, you have to kind of provide your reference to the employer so that they can contact them. But creating your resume, you would always put available upon request. Okay, now you can see that we have now created a professional looking resume. Even the current resume that I have is in very similar format, and so make sure that your spacing, alignments and margins are all like uniform throughout your resume. Make sure there is no irrelevant information included there. Make sure there is no any false information included in there. Make sure there is no spelling and grammatical errors. Your formatting should be uniform throughout your document. You need to ensure that your font size are uniform as well. And this is because resume is basically kind of a first impression in front of your employer. Well, thank you so much for watching this video till very end, guys. I really appreciate your time. I'll leave the link down below in the description section for the resume template that we created today. And if you think it will help you, please feel free to use it, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts on the comment section down below. And also, if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It really motivates me to create more content like this and bring onto your feed. So I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.